Hey guys, we're gonna start. Starting everybody. Take your seats. All right. Get underway here. All right. Happy Monday. For anyone that I don't know, I'm Robbie. Sean's away, and so I'm helping out. Kelly's also putting in the food department, which I think the triple beam's a home run. But anyway, we have the police department today. We're gonna have the fire department make a brief appearance. Then we've got Jing from community development. Here she is. You got time. Have some pizza. And then we got Zen here to chat with everyone. So looking forward to getting into things right away here. And we'll start with Officer Deal.
Hey folks, how's it going? Halima's on vacation. I know she likes to cover the stats, so I'm taking over for today. I'm just gonna cover some major things that or two critical incidents that came up that you should be aware of. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then today we have our guest, Sergeant Olson, who's in charge of our traffic unit. So I know traffic is a major topic, crime, and homeless related issues. So next month we'll have somebody from the homeless team come in and talk. Following month we'll have somebody from our crime impact team come in and talk in person, so you guys can kind of have a better understanding of what we do behind the scenes. And then obviously Officer Togo's here. He's a B3 NRO. Everybody knows Officer Hollowell, the B1.
I have one message for you.
Go ahead.
So I have one message for you all regarding the community garden on Main Street. There's a lot of scutterbutt, meaning information, everybody's playing telephone about how there was a guy there that has been called an issue. And folks are saying that they called the police and we're not coming. I ran the calls for service, there were 7. So I don't know if people are utilizing next door. I'm not sure it's a bifurcated way that we're communicating. If this gentleman should show up, please call us and say, we would like you to come and keep the peace. We will come keep the peace. If there's a crime that occurred, we will effect an arrest. But that's the only process. Don't put in a 311 ticket. Don't get on next door and tell a friend. Don't go on Citizen, because we can't quantify any of those things and make it a safe area. What we're also doing is working with the city attorney's office to maybe change the language, because it's open space and open to the public. When you have that type of language, it's open to the public. I don't care if you put up a fence and you lock it, and sometimes it's locked or not. It doesn't change how a person should operate within that garden, because it is a public space. I don't know, it did used to have a fence, right? Back in 10, 15 years ago. Who's been, Judy?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, there was no fence. So then they put up a fence, but they didn't change any rules. So we're working on the rule change, but in the meantime, should bad things occur, or they believe that things are about to occur or already have occurred, please call us so that we can take care of what we need to. Do not get on 311 and send me a long email message about it, because I can't track that down by the time it gets to me from City Hall. Is there any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
What's 311?
Oh, if you don't know about it, now you should. No, 311 is where you're able to request city services to all the departments. So if you need something from Big Blue Bus, Triple R, libraries, graffiti, it's a one. Yeah, you can call 311 and there's a 311 app. But don't use it for the police. Call the police. We're there all the time. You don't need to use 311 for us. You can call us, we will answer. We prefer our stuff that way because we need time to go get the bad guy. You put it in 311, we can't. It's 3 days old by the time we get it.
Can I ask a question? I'm online.
Oh, yes, you can, Miss New York.
So what is this person up to? What did they do? Because when I was there on Saturday, they only had half of the gates opened. They didn't open the gates, you know, that went right through.
just been causing a disturb, he used to have a plot there, he's been causing a disturbance, it's making some folks uneasy. So, we're just trying to, okay, thank you. Yes,
Can I have another, this is brought up, I'm not here regularly, so I'm often in the park on Wilshire and Douglas Park on Wilshire about 25th. So the freedom of speech, sometimes there's the most foul language that's being, kind of disturbs your peace. Is that not against the law, so there's no point calling?
you can call us anytime someone's disturbing the peace. So if you feel like this is a disturbance and we need to come and keep the peace,
Pretty
and
disturbing.
yeah, and then we'll figure it out, but you usually have park rangers that are around, you can also contact them, they're in the white vehicles, or public service officers as they call them. But they were in the green and the white, you could also approach them.
Okay, thank you.
You will.
Officer, can I have your cell number, please?
Especially for you.
I was wondering if you have any advice, because I know there's a couple planned peaceful demonstrations for the No Kings event on October 18th. The last one was really well attended, and I think everyone realized the responsibility they have to be peaceful and work with everyone to make sure it stays that way. And I know I do, and I'm just wondering what is being done on your end to plan for it. What advice you might give to the people who are coming out?
We're all gonna be here on Saturday.
Yeah.
So good. The entire department will be here. We hope and pray that it will be peaceful like it was last time. That's how protests should be. When things get out of hand, if you see somebody trying to incite fights or causing trouble, call it out, give us a call. We'll be here, we'll have the drone up, potential mutual aid, but we're all gonna be here. So we just hope people come, just do the right thing, and, leave peacefully as well.
Is there a place, I want to avoid it, but I have to go and get there for Memorial Park Gym. So if I want to avoid it, if I get to the gym, how do I avoid the crowds?
Where's your gym at?
Olympic and 14. Memorial Park.
Private event is planned at Ocean, Montana, but these things are popping up, so it's kind of a fluid issue right now. So they can decide if they want to organize it, Ocean, Arizona, they can go by the pier, wherever
But
they want.
someone said Ocean Park might be closed, the street.
Not by the police department for this event. So like I said, the planned event, the permit that they're trying to pull is inside Palisades.
We even have to call it that.
That I know they were doing it as of last week, I don't know what the update is.
Was there another one taking place on Abbott Kinney? Is that the pier that,
So this is a nationwide protest or call to action.
well, we had Day of the Dog Plan. And then you guys said, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Right?
so I
That
mean.
was kind of what we heard.
That's Sunday.
We changed the date.
Yeah.
Oh, but-
You can go to their website and basically they'll tell you essentially where the events are taking place. They're asking you to register for them.
All right, in regards to crime, we've had a few bicycle thefts from carports. So once again, I know we've kind of talked about this in the past. You have a bicycle, whether it be electric bike or your standard mountain bike, register it. We have on our website, you can click on it, the bike index, register your bicycle. So if somebody does happen to steal it, we come across them. We run the serial numbers, comes back stolen, guess what, you get your property back. Also securing your carports. Don't leave anything out that you're not willing to lose or have somebody take it. Crime, it's a crime of opportunity. So make sure you register your bikes and secure whatever storage compartment or cabinet that you have in your carport. Last week, we had a gentleman who was prowling at multiple locations, looking into windows, trying to get into people's homes. There was one subject who matched the description of the other incidents who was taken to jail, so he's in custody. As far as that, today we have Sergeant Olson, part of our traffic unit. He's here today to kind of discuss one of the issues that we have here in the city, traffic. So I'll let you check that.
Good evening, everyone. Jason Olson, Been in the department almost 25 years now. Basically, a lot of team on patrol, working through, got a specialty in traffic enforcement. Really had a passion, I'm kind of a math and science nerd. So I started looking at collision investigations. So math, physics, all that good stuff really excites me. So that being said, started into our collision investigations unit. So did that for about 7 years as a detective. And then basically, once I promoted, I actually got to come back to traffic now. So I supervise our motor officers for traffic enforcement, as well as our collision investigation team. Work very closely with Department of Transportation, Public Works, city attorneys, looking kind of a holistic approach to how we make our streets safer throughout the city. So with that, I don't really have any stats for you. Like I said, I know there's gonna be a bunch of questions. I don't want to take up all your time, so I figure we'll just jump right into questions. Yes, sir.
I have a kind of a different kind of question.
Okay.
I've been trying to slow traffic down on these streets for a long time. Well, even knows every week I ask her for statistical data and that sort of stuff. I think these guys do too. I've also been working along with a number of people here to make changes to the physical infrastructure of Nielsen and Main Street. So I'm just curious, from your perspective and your experience, what do you think we could do from a non-enforcement perspective on those two streets to kind of make it so, we're not afraid to cross the street?
Are you Matt?
What?
Matt, first name?
No, my name's John.
Okay, sorry, it was an email that just crossed my desk today about Nielsen.
We're all asking, we understand that Derek's in charge, so we think we have an opportunity to maybe shift what's happening. So there are a lot of us, it's not just me, but I happen to know man.
Okay. So the city is committed to what we call Vision Zero, if everyone's familiar with that process. So obviously, we want to reduce or eliminate the number of fatalities on our roads. So with that, there's 5 E's. And so one of those becomes education. You do have enforcement in there. We get to the encouragement and the engineering part of this, and then evaluation. So the problem is you have to kind of balance this out. We can't just come up with a design and then tell the police, hey, go enforce that if it's a bad design, right? Because then that hinders on our constitutional policing. And obviously, you put up just a random stop sign, I can't go write a ticket for that stop sign. This is not fair to the motoring public, right? So there has to be a balance. So the problem is, and I was gonna refer to that email today, is there was a call for like speed humps, speed bumps, speed cushions, all up and down Nielsen Way. The problem is you've got the fire trucks, you've got the police cars that we have to slow down so much to get over those bumps. That's a ripple effect to our response times. So when we're trying to promote these fast response times, being on scene within 5 minutes, now we're extending those out. So they run a lot of these statistical models, everything else that comes into what would be the response time if we add certain features, right? Along the lines of Vision Zero. So the idea is if I can slow down my roadways to less than 20 miles per hour, then my number of fatalities are also going to go down. The problem is we got humans behind the wheel of our cars. We don't have complete Waymos running our city, right? So the problem is you slow the public down so much, what happens? That human behavior kicks in. I don't want to wait in this traffic. I'm going to make my U-turn right here. And what happens is now we start committing violations. You have the aggressive behavior in there. And now what do we have? We're back to having our crashes again. And a lot of those get back up into our fatalities or serious injuries. So there has to be balance. So I can't tell you that you can design the heck out of everything and make everything safer, because there does have to be a balance between all those E's.
I would hope they would come to you, right? Because we do have council and city staff looking at changes for Nielsen, and you better be part of that.
Well, and that's part of the problem. So when I was the investigator in traffic, and we're talking, 10 plus years ago, I had regular meetings with our traffic engineers and everything else, and we had these discussions of, hey, here's the crashes we're having, here's the causes of them, can we determine any trends? And then from there, let's see what we can do on the other side, whether it be enforcement, education, engineering, to try and come up with our model of how we're going to make our streets safer. I'll say once I left traffic, there was a huge disconnect. And so, I can tell you right now, I was not a big fan of the Broadway bike path, everything else, lanes that they put in there, because there was no real education that went ahead of that. So the problem is you change the roadway, and now all of a sudden, even all my partners at Caltrans are like, who the hell just described this, right? So again, there has to be those conversations. So now that I'm back in the unit, we're getting those connections back. So like I said, we have weekly meetings with Department of Transportation and other departments to discuss these things ahead of time so that we can try and roll out the best model for the public.
That's good. So I will also just mention that the statistical data that you see after 10 years is not really an accurate view of what happens on Nielsen and Main Street. the data, the way the data is collected is averages over time. I mean, I can go into this at a different time, but ultimately, there's micro behaviors. We see this, right? When people see that green light at Bay Street, they can see all the way past Strand, right? That doesn't really get measured. The other thing I would suggest as you think through this is that I think traffic engineering, as the way the street is set up, particularly in Nilsson, is designed to prevent cars from hitting each other, right? With the big brakes, I can tell by the way the timing is. Problem is, it puts the pedestrians in a state of fear, and it makes it really difficult on us, right? Short walk signs and that sort of stuff. So as you think through this, just please remember that there are people that are going to go, wait a minute.
Well aware there is plenty of technology that we are actually incorporating into looking at these numbers, because like you said, one of the services that Department of Transportation just went to called Urban SDK, where they're getting actually data from connected cars that tells how fast a car is going down the street. The problem is we're talking about GPS data. So what does that do? It sends a message to the tower, comes back from the satellite, makes the next message, gets the average of those two readings, and then comes up with what the speed is, right? So I don't have an actual speed, I have a GPS speed. They're different, okay?
Right.
But same thing, if my Tesla is doing 35 like it should be, but that T100 pickup truck that just did 120 down the street past it is not being tracked, okay? So again, that's where there are flaws in some of the technology, but we are looking at it in order to get that better data so we can make better decisions. So yes.
No man, and I would be glad to help you. Anything you want from us, want to talk to us, just let us know.
I would just say, yes, we understand there's issues out there. I'm not saying don't come to us with those problems. But again, sometimes things get so spun up and we start making like rash knee-jerk reactions to things that they don't need to be
We
there.
want long-term answers.
100%. And like I said, I'd rather think through a problem, get all the people together to come up with that solution, and we go from there. Yes, sir.
I was a little surprised, but someone showed me something from the old Santa Monica Outlook. It showed that traffic was the #1 problem 50, 60 years ago. So it's not like this is a new thing, or it should all be blamed, or it's just something. But I never had a car in my life. I've always taken public transportation. I urge everyone to try to take our good big blue bus. Maybe you can leave your car home 10, 15% of the time, because it's real easy. They have a transit app. I swear, I got to tell you, it is real easy to do. The other thing is I'm all in favor of bikes and alternative transportation, but I want to make sure that the bicycles, and most of them are, obeying the rules. Because some of them speed through stop signs real fast, or just don't obey the rules. And so I just hope that education can do that. And whether you're walking or driving or biking, you got to understand that you got to keep not be on the cell phone,
Well, and that's where the education and the encouragement components come in, is we all share the roadways. So it doesn't matter what mode of transportation that we're taking, we all have to be respectful of the other roadway users. And the problem is, like you said, too many people are on their phones, they're too, focused on what's going on at home, at work, the radio, whatever it may be, and they're just not paying attention. And all it takes is that split-second distraction, no matter what mode of transportation you're in, and now we have a crash.
whether in a hurry, we get somewhere 30 seconds faster.
Absolutely right.
It's not worth it, so.
What about the bikes on the sidewalks? I mean, talk about being dangerous, people getting injured, and places, when dogs loose in the parks, running around and knocking people down.
That is a topic that comes up pretty much every month, just so that you know.
Which part of the dogs or bikes?
Bikes.
On my way over here, actually, I came to an intersection across the street with a light, and a dog jumped out of nowhere and bit me in the foot.
Well, going back to the traffic side of this with the bikes, and we'll kind of unpack this a little bit. So the bicycles themselves should not be on the sidewalk. Obviously, there's a specific vehicle code that requires them to not only be at the right side of the roadway, whether there's a bike lane or not, go with the flow of traffic, and basically obey all the same rules of the road as a regular motor vehicle. Okay. Someone brought up the e-bikes. So yes, I know it's a frequent complaint that comes up. The problem that we have is that most of these are kids, teenagers, that basically as soon as we go try and contact them, they take off running from us. And the problem that I have is I can't tell my officers to get in pursuit of this scooter, motorcycle, e-motorcycle, whatever it may be, when they're gonna jeopardize now other people in public, okay? So again, we can try and contact them, we can do all that, but that doesn't always work. So that's where that encouragement, that education is coming in. So we've tried putting stuff out on social media, we're trying to, get the parents involved. Unfortunately, it's only the ones that we actually do catch. It's not till the parents come in to get their scooters or whatever out of impound that we actually get to have that one-on-one with the parents. I told someone recently that it wasn't until, actually, I think Officer Hall took the scooter. The parent had to come in and talk to me and explain to the dad what actually his kid was operating, and it was a motorcycle, okay? And his first response was, well, all his friends have these same things. I didn't want my kid to be alone walking, so I ended up getting it for him. But then once I explained to him all the laws that are already there, it requires a motorcycle license. It basically, some of these are off-highway motor vehicles that can be operated in state parks. They should not be on our city streets at all. It's the first parent in probably, I'd say, 7 years that actually did the right thing, and I will take care of that with my son right now. That thing's going in the garbage, whatever it may be. But most parents, we're the jerks because we're trying to keep everybody safe.
Electric bikes, I thought there was some movement about they're getting a license. Electric
Well,
bikes.
Again, I guess it depends on what we're calling electric bicycle. So in the vehicle code, there are very specific definitions. So when you talk about an electric bicycle, you're talking about a motor. It talks about a certain braking efficiency, but you're still talking about active pedals that when you pedal them, they move a chain around basically an axle and turns out wheel. The problem is that a lot of these are made to be dual purpose, where you can actually remove those pedals. Well, once you've done that, you've now turned this essentially into a motorcycle or an off-highway vehicle. And so that's part of the problem is either parents, kids don't understand this. They just want to ride, as fast as they can down the street, through our parks, whatever it may be, and just have fun as they're calling out there up and down these streets. So that's where, again, that education is coming in, trying to explain to parents. And then we're also going with code enforcement to the vendors, because some of these are being rented. Trying to explain to them that basically you can't be renting these. In fact, I just dealt one with this week. They were completely shocked that apparently they bought 500 of these things. There's a straight up Vespa, moped that requires a license and a helmet and basically needs to be registered. And they were just trying to out there make a buck. And so now we're basically explaining this to them and basically shutting their business down.
Okay, so you are hitting up the vendors, so they're.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
educated.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Great, that's really good.
Yes.
And any time is up, but
All right, I'm out here now.
they go for like high schools to like one or not one, you say education, or it's like to have a little workshop or.
So we haven't been to high school yet this year, but in fact, on Friday of last week, Grant Elementary did their bike it to walk it events. And we usually jump in on all those. And so not only do we send I got my motor officers out there, but we get to talk to the kids. It gives us actually a good opportunity to see what they're riding at the time and, do some education that way. But yeah, it moves on from elementary, middle school on up.
Right. We do have to move on. Did appreciate the police force kind of like giving us an opportunity to chat with you because it is such a regular topic, both the traffic and the e-bikes. Thanks, guys, for coming out and all that.
Thank you.
Come on up. Got the fire department.
I guess I'll be short. That's what I've heard. I can't believe it's October. It felt like I was just up here a week ago. So, hey, just a couple of things for you. This past Saturday, we had a really great open house in the morning. A lot of folks from the community come out. It's pretty neat. Fire Service Week. So that's how we kick it off. Well attended. This past Sunday, our fire chief and a couple other folks were honored at an awards ceremony. Downtown LA is another fantastic opportunity for the fire department. Our ambulance operator program, 1 month so far. And these guys and gals are running back-to-back calls. The support has been outstanding. Our collection rate has been even better, which is great because that's what's funding the program. So we intend to roll more and more of those Santa Monica fire ambulances out there. I'm in the process now trying to figure out how to buy ambulances. It is not as easy as it sounds. There's a lot that's gone into it, but we'll get them out there and hopefully by the end of February, you see nothing but Santa Monica fire ambulances out there. They may be white with a Santa Monica sticker for a while until we can get them painted. That's how close it's gonna be. In about 2 weeks, we're rolling out the advanced provider unit. And that is gonna be a game changer. One nurse, one firefighter, paramedic, concentrating in the downtown area. 2 weeks later, we're rolling out a second one for 7-day-a-week coverage. We're gonna focus on Bergamot Station as folks are coming in on the train, see if we can try to help them earlier on before they get off the train. And also in the downtown core. I think, well, I know based on the research we've done, it's an outstanding opportunity for our community to help really try to connect the dots with all the social services that we have with our unhoused and mentally challenged folks that are out there. Our numbers are up. We're busier this time last year than we were, this year than we were last year. And this entire week, we're interviewing brand new firefighter candidates for our academy that I shared with you last time. It's going to be in January. Exceptional folks. We're only on day one. We've got 4 more days of this, but looking forward to a fairly large academy for us, about 12 individuals that we'll have with a graduation on May 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks for having us. Any questions anybody has?
I don't have a question. I would just ask when that advanced protection unit's around, if you could find a third area, and that area would be down by the beach or in the Barn Park and Crescent Bay Park between Venice and the pier. That seems to be
It is.
a spot for that attention.
We've got 2 spots we want to try, but it absolutely does not mean that they could get pulled that way. That happens frequently. When we had our quick response unit, when we've had the community response unit, all trials that led to this, they were all over the city based on need. So they're not tied to one specific area, but we do have some target areas right now. Jared.
I'm sure it's too late for baseball season this year, but I'm wondering again, like you used to have the great community event, the fire department,
You know why we stopped doing that? Because we kept beating them. They couldn't take it anymore. So we went and played lawn bowling one year. It's about 8 years ago. They beat us then, and then they didn't want to play anymore. So we can certainly work on it. DJ's a good friend of mine. Maybe we can talk him into it.
Right, that's right.
You know what percentage of calls are being handled by Santa Monica versus the contractor for ambulance calls right now?
Right now, that's a great question. I'm going to take a total guess. Now we're only operating right now 5 days a week during daylight hours. So that's a small window, but that's the power band of our calls in many sense. I'd say we're probably close to 15% right now. Our intent's 100% by the end of February. Yeah, so we should be adding another unit and then another one immediately after in about a month or so. It honestly depends on how quickly I can get loaner ambulances or ambulances in general, wherever I can get them. Go ahead.
Couple questions. Can you explain a little bit more on the context for how we got to a system where we were relying on a contractor for?
Oh, absolutely. Years and years, we have been in the contract ambulance business for the better part of 25 to 30 years. And we've always bid it out because technically, legally, we own the rights to transport individuals within our jurisdiction. And we loaned that, we permitted a contractor to do it because it was just plain too expensive for us to do it specifically. And back in about 93, 95, some brilliant fire chief somewhere came up with an ambulance operator program, which was non-sworn EMT, lower paid, but fairly highly trained individual that wanted to get into the fire service. It was a great way to get in. I was an AO in Huntington Beach in 1992, 93 and 94. Great way to get into the system. Ever since then, and it was slow to adoption here because no one really kind of got their arms around it or believed it. But Anaheim, Huntington Beach, Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, Long Beach, all run AO programs. They have for years. They've been extremely successful. We're just a little bit late and slow to the game. It's been on top of mind for the better part of 10 years because the original position paper I put together about 12 years ago. And it's just finally got just the right timing and traction, and here we are.
And then the second question is about the new units you guys have deploying, which sounds wonderful. Can you talk more like when you encounter someone that's having like a health issue and that's unhoused and obviously is facing a lot of litany issues, you guys go there and just take care of the health issues happening, or do you also like say, here's some services you can connect to, or?
You're spot on. It's got a medical component first, because we have found that with a nurse practitioner, the scope of practice is so great. They can write prescriptions, we can give prescriptions, we can do sutures, suture removal. We have EKG capability. They have ultrasound capability. There is a lot that we can do with that unit there and take care of some problems and keep them out of the ER. That's step one, because that is crushing our ERs. And it's costing all of us a ton of money. So step two is they're extremely well informed of what's available to them. Even our own folks don't know the litany of services that are out there. So we have trained this group specifically to connect all those dots that are available, either internal or external to the city of Santa Monica.
Right. Do you know if there's issues like upstream of that where like you say, go check this out, but the person can't actually check it out because there's a waiting list that's too long, or?
We can help them with that.
Yeah.
Because the backside of that is we have a case manager. And we've had this case manager for about a year. And we are tracking high utilization folks, both housed and unhoused, and trying to divert them to services that keep them out of the 911 system. And that's been really successful. Great question. Any other questions? All right. Well, it'll feel like 5 days, but I'll see you guys in 30 days. Thank you again.
Chief, do you mind if I share a few announcements too?
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to just remind everybody, we did I dropped in the chat a little video about power and danger of ion lithium batteries. That was our theme last week for Fire Prevention Week. So please check out that quick video. And then also, if you haven't signed up for Community Connect, please do so. All of these programs and platforms like all kind of work together, and they help inform all these amazing all this amazing growth that Chief Clemmo just went through. So please, we need residents and business owners to sign up for Community Connect. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you coming out. And next on the agenda, we've got Jing. Congratulations to her on moving into the, I don't want to get it wrong, Director of Community Development. Is that?
Through community development.
Okay, there we go. Whoa. Congrats. You can probably do better.
Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jing Yo. I'm your new Director of Community Development. I'm not new to Santa Monica, however. I've worked for the city for close to 20 years. February 2026 will be my 20th anniversary. I've been a resident of the city for that entire time. I'm a resident of Mid-City, actually. So just want to come here to introduce myself today and just give you a few updates on what's going on in community development. Just to keep you updated. So within the department itself, there's been some realignment with our new city manager, Oliver Chi. Community development used to consist of 4 divisions. There's been a lot of restructuring over the years, certainly in my time in the city, but it was city planning, building and safety, code enforcement, and economic development. With the new city manager, economic development has now moved to the city manager's office. So that includes, a lot of it's actually a lot of stuff. It's like the farmer's market. It is, general economic development activities, like all the bids in the city, leasing of city property, kind of management of the city's real estate portfolio. So there's a lot that is moving to the city manager's office. Makes a lot of sense in this time as the city is working its way out of financial distress. So community development now consists of the 3 divisions, which is planning, building and safety, and code enforcement. The realignment plan generally from the city manager will be presented at our October 28th meeting. around three major objectives of public safety, economic opportunity, and housing. So just so you all know, that's what's coming forward on the October 20th meeting. So something to stay tuned into, as it'll be kind of just a lot of things across the entire organization, that will be coming forward at that meeting. What's happening within community development? I just wanted to give you just some updates as to what's happened kind of in the last quarter. I don't know when someone from the department was here last, but we have a new building code. So this is the triennial update, which means every 3 years. That was adopted and it is being going through the process right now. It will take effect January 1 of 2026. This is a very regular process that goes on in terms of updates to the California Building Code and integration into our local codes. Just something notable is that it does include new kind of home hardening requirements in relation to new maps that were published by the state with respect to very high fire severity zones. And there was also a shift, kind of a little wonkish point about the definition of high rise. This has been something that's been a product of debate in housing development. Santa Monica had a unique definition of high rise at 55 feet. State building code is at 75 feet. So that definition has changed in terms of what's a high rise, but otherwise it's sort of the regular update of the building code. We also, just on planning matters, there was a new adult use cannabis ordinance that was adopted. This has been probably the culmination of a 2-year effort to introduce adult use cannabis, which is we're probably several years, I would say, behind the rest of California, when it comes to cannabis adoption. Santa Monica really took a more careful stance on this. We issued an RFP to allow 2 medicinal operators. They're actually located on Wilshire Boulevard. They're open and operating. But this would allow adult use cannabis, which is we see in like West Hollywood and Culver City, LA, for example. And that is something that is coming. It's a process that will launch probably later this year, around November or December. We'll start receiving applications for operators that want to open that business. And then there was a new pilot program that the city council adopted to try and spur housing development. We have in this time, there's a lot of development proposals, that have been approved, but they're kind of frozen. I think that's the result of what we see in the economic uncertainty across the country, the region. You may have seen media articles about kind of housing development just stalled, frozen, in the pipeline. This was a proposal that was directed by the city council to find a way to see if we could unfreeze the pipeline. There's about 40 projects representing about 4,000 housing units. It was initially opened as a 1-phase pilot until September the 30th for the first 1,000 units. So there are already 6 projects representing 1,000 units that have submitted their applications for that pilot program, and the city council has now opened that for the rest of the 30 projects and 3,000 units in the pipeline. And again, the intent is to try and get those projects into getting a building permit. They're already approved, and it's just getting them moved through the process. This is kind of, really in the realm of state housing law. We've seen a huge shift in that since 2017. So for the past 8 years, just new laws from the state legislature with respect to making it easier to build housing. It does result in the removal of control in many ways, and that's something that we're continuing to grapple with. The governor just last week signed more bills that we're reading again. They change pretty rapidly. Like we'll get a notification of something happening sort of earlier in the year, maybe April or something like that. And by the time it gets signed, if it gets signed, it's completely different. So we're working our way through each year. About January or February, we provide kind of a legislative update to the Planning Commission and to the City Council. That's posted online. So it's a lot for us to catch up on, and that's kind of where we're at right now. As every day we're getting kind of a new unveiling of more bills that are passed. But it's an opportunity if you're interested in kind of staying on top of that. We do post that update to the website in the early part of each year. Upcoming, what we're working on is really, I would say, kind of our major effort, one of the major efforts going forward. Probably 2 things I can point out. One is around vacant properties. We have about 170 of them in the city, and 170 roughly that have been identified by our code enforcement division. In 2023, there was a new neighborhood preservation, kind of like a property maintenance ordinance, that was adopted just to give the city stronger teeth to address these properties that have fallen into disrepair. Certainly through the pandemic, we saw an increasing number of these, whether it's fully vacant properties, largely fully vacant buildings or substantially vacant buildings. They haven't been tenanted in a while, and they become, essentially attractors for crime, neighborhood nuisance, just things happen around them. We definitely see that direct correlation. So phase one was that property maintenance ordinance. Our code enforcement division has engaged every property owner on that list just to give them like, hi, we're here. These are all the things you need to do to clean up. We also included in that though information to connect with our economic development department. I think we're trying to take a sort of carrot and stick approach to this, right? That we're notifying owners of vacant buildings, that there's a new ordinance in place, you need to maintain your property, keep it clean, but we're also trying to pair that with connecting them to programs that the city runs, like our Art of Recovery, try to, partner, like if you're interested in having art on your windows, while it's vacant, we can connect you with our Recreation and Arts department. If you're interested in tenanting, let us help you walk through like what the uses are, and if they're really interested in getting something open, right, they have a soft handoff to kind of get through the permitting process faster. So I think we're truly trying to make those connections to not just be reactive to the vacant properties, but to take a more proactive stance, to help landlords who want to move to have to occupy their buildings, or to that is the goal at the end of the day, is to not have vacant properties. So what's coming next is a proposal for a vacant property registration program. There's something very similar that exists in West Hollywood. Our code enforcement manager actually created that program. He has great familiarity with it. And what that is, it just gives us an additional tool to monitor those properties and start to bring them into compliance. So that's something that is a really huge interdepartmental work effort, but it's addressing something that all of you probably have seen around the city, which is these sort of like abandoned looking properties, and like what's going on, how do we get them back into compliance. The second thing that we'll be working on is a sort of what I'll just call a development services process, re-engineering, if you will, of the process. I think if you've been a homeowner or trying to do a remodel or something, or you're a business owner, trying to get through the process, we have an earned reputation, I think historically of being, maybe a difficult process to navigate. And so, really taking a close look at that. We have a new land management system, it's a permitting system that is going to replace a lot of the old systems we have. However, you don't just replace, the software isn't going to fix, a process, right? You got to fix the process behind it first. Otherwise, you're just making something bad look pretty, so that's the hard work ahead is really streamlining, bringing efficiencies to that process is something that we're doing. This is a good time when you launch any software is to relook at all the processes to bring, I think, certainty, knowability, and requirements. Right now, fully acknowledge it's very hard. If you try to, I've done a practice side of trying to, upload a plan, right? Create an account, on the two systems we have, and it's just very, very, very hard to navigate. That'll be paired with improvements with the website. So it's just a friendlier portal to entry you into the permit system, whether you're a homeowner, a business owner. This is not geared towards even, because that's really the majority of the permits we deal with. There's a lot of remodels, home construction, and a lot of commercial tenant improvements, actually. Those are the highest volume that we have, and probably the folks that have the least amount of resources to navigate a system like this. So that's something that is coming forward over the next probably 6 to 8 months. And then finally, I was asked to just give some kind of highlights on things within Ocean Park. Just updates on some developments happening around. So 234 Pico, that's the former bowling alley property. So that one is a 5-story, 186 unit housing project. The building permit was issued on October 6, 2025, and they are in excavation and foundation right now. So if you see activity going on there, that is what is happening on that site. At the Gelson's property, this is the Lincoln Ocean Park, that project was approved. It got its planning approvals November of 2023. We have been told by the applicant that that's not moving forward. We don't have further information. I know there's been different questions. We don't have any new proposals, no building permit. They're not in plan check at all, because that would be the next phase, into moving towards that. They do have, the entitlement is valid till 2027. But as of right now, we haven't seen any movement on that property. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think, the updates that I was kind of asked to give highlights on. I'm happy to take any questions you have. Got there. I'll start here and I'll make my way around.
Any word on what's happening with the Miramar revitalization project and the Erie Hotel project? I haven't heard much about it.
Yeah, I think that they are very much still looking to move forward, on those projects, and we're engaging with them. Those development agreements, they have a long kind of guaranteed timeframe by which they have to pull building permits. So what we're seeing right now is they're sort of exploring the process. I think just like many projects going through financing, trying to make the numbers line up. For projects as large as those, you can imagine it's quite a complex process. Yeah.
And the Erie?
Same, very, very similar process.
Yeah, do you have any information, for the Gelson's project, if Gelson's and these stores that are open are going to remain open?
Yeah.
Or do you know if they're going to close? Gelson's in particular.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we haven't heard anything from the applicant about, moving forward with that at this point. So I don't have information about lease or what.
And because like the just moved, and so did the places moved out of there.
Yeah.
Before this.
It's hard to know. Typically in these situations where, when they've gone forward and submitted a development proposal, it depends on, who the owner is and what their plans are going in the future, the lease terms, those sorts of things. That might work for some of the tenants that are there, and others, kind of like, I'm going to move on to find more certainty somewhere else.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much. Oh, there you go.
So I have a few things. First, congratulations on getting promoted. I think it's well deserved. Glad to have you. Lucky to have you. Second, when I heard you say you were in charge of building and safety, and there was 170 vacant buildings, I say, I think for everyone here, crack that whip. Get them redone. But what's really important is housing. I am part of Santa Monica Forward. I'm part of Abundance. I've worked hard to try to, change the mindset of residents. We've worked really hard to get pro-growth council set. But when we saw the presentation that you gave for the offsite affordable program, we noticed that another group had some influence that we at Forward and we at Abundance would like to figure out how we can get to you with our expertise so you can start listening to us, right? Whether that's regular meetings. So how would we go about doing it, right? That's really my question.
Yeah. I mean, I think number one, I'm happy to meet with anyone at any time. One of the things around housing is like there's so much state law around it that we find ourselves like constantly trying to keep updated on it. And I would say Santa Monica is well ahead of the game of many, many jurisdictions. And it's easy to forget, when you hear the tone from the legislature, about what cities are not doing. And sometimes we have to look outside as well to, see examples of that. Santa Monica's, I would say, the housing approvals process is, I'm not sure it could get more streamlined, than it is at the moment. There's no public hearings that are required for housing projects, which is not the case. I think a lot of cities are still working towards, that requirement. So I would say, there are suggestions if there's a desire to meet to discuss ideas. I think we're always open to hearing those from anybody. And this is for whether you're a resident, interested community member, anybody, it's like, we're always ready to listen. So please feel free to reach out.
That's good news, right, John?
Do you have any information on the project at
project, is that 413 Ocean Avenue? 413 Ocean Avenue, oh, the bridge. So there is a community meeting being held at Mount Olive Lutheran Church. I don't want to misspeak. I'm not leading that effort, but I believe St. Joseph Center. This is for everyone's awareness, is the bridge housing that is being proposed on two locations on Ocean Avenue, 413 and 825 Ocean Avenue. There's a community meeting being held this Thursday evening. And I would encourage you to tune into that. I don't know if there's going to be it's definitely in person. I don't know if there's a hybrid option.
Do you know if there's any state laws requiring any type of permitting for housing, with their intended on housing?
For that particular use that was proposed, when we looked at it from a zoning standpoint, it appeared to meet the definition of supportive housing, which is a permitted use. So, you know, from that perspective, it is allowed. And what is in our zoning code for supportive transitional housing, other kinds of housing uses, draws from requirements in state law that we don't treat you know, housing types different than where you allow like multifamily, single room occupancy structures and the like. So they need to be treated equally.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for coming to me. I don't have a softball question for you. I'm reading from something I wrote, so forgive me. My experiences with building and safety include sexism, a toxic environment involving disparaging me to my face and behind my back, false assurances of help as recently as October 1st, fraternization with my landlord, an inspector site visit for no legitimate reason, a threat to shut down a project already underway, an inspector visit September 30, finally a permit for work not performed, and failure to comply with Municipal Code 8.100 since at least 2018, which directly undermines tenant rights. I know many renters who have had these same types of experiences. So my question for you is, please, how long before you shift your focus away from planning and clean up building and safety?
Thank you for that. Not having the specifics, I'm sorry you've had those experiences. I'm certainly happy to talk with you offline about your specific experiences. I'd love to know more about them. Although my background is in planning, in my position as director, I have oversight over all three divisions. And certainly if there's any, we're not meeting expectations from a customer service perspective or anything like that, please do reach out to me and let me know. Those are things that I would certainly like to address.
I appreciate that.
Jing, congratulations again. So I'm really curious about these vacant properties that you just mentioned. 170, I think, is the number. So I have three questions, if you don't mind me throwing these at you, pertaining to those properties. One is, what kinds of properties? Are they residential or commercial or other uses? Also, are they all complete buildings or are they units within buildings? And like unleased apartments, for example. And then three, have we ever sort of communally discussed a vacancy tax?
Yeah, so I'll start with that. The vacancy tax, I don't think it's been publicly discussed to my awareness. I think there's been general, I'll say, articles and some discussion, generally maybe chatter around it, but not formally discussed at a council meeting that I'm aware of. So there's that. In terms of what kinds of properties, it honestly is quite the range. What we're working actually on with our information services department on creating a map. We do have a map of it already, but something more interactive that will be that is kind of like a community facing dashboard. So I think we want to put this information out there so people can track, because it's kind of all over the city. It's not like concentrated in one area. And I think we want to make sure that when it comes to vacant properties, there's an opportunity to, it's not just a code enforcement effort where we work very closely with the police department, with the community who deals with that every day, so there's a real partnership there. And you'll be able to see on a map, where these are located, what it is. They'll be kind of all assigned a rating as part of the registration program, and then they'll be reassessed kind of every quarter, as to like whether it's kind of a green, red, red, green, yellow, essentially, so, of the 170, it's not, they're not all what we call kind of the worst of the worst. I think we can all probably think in our minds of the, vacant property in the city. There's kind of a famous one up on Broadway. I'll just, that's kind of been partially under construction. Yeah, I think we all know kind of the ones that have been vacant for a really long time. Those are the ones that we are initially like prioritizing to abate, as proactively as possible. So that's kind of focusing on what we kind of call the worst of the worst. And that's about 40 of them. The rest are, vacant, and it's sort of, some of them need a little work and they could get into kind of that monitoring status. And then there's the rest that are in that they're vacant, but we're monitoring actively to make sure that the weeds don't start growing up and that sort of thing. So that kind of gives you a sense, of where we're at. But yeah, it really runs, it's not just commercial buildings, it's also some vacant residential.
Which would be fine for improving and renting out to people.
And then we even have like vacant properties, actual, green empty land, which is kind of unusual to be like this, so.
Tax revenue from the hotels. I guess you can tell how the hotels are doing financially. There's a lot of hotels on Ocean Avenue. Do you know how the hotels are doing financially, and how is the city doing for income? I heard the city is kind of growing low on money to pay out. Have things sort of.
Yeah, so there was a recent declaration of financial distress. There was a recent declaration of financial distress by the city. It didn't give anyone extra powers or anything like that. It was just an opportunity to document everything that's happened in the last easily 5 to 6 years in terms of where the city's budget, has been, where it's going. I think that when the city organization has gone out to talk to, for example, state legislators, right, and tried to pursue grants, it was, I think, became obvious that there's not a great awareness of what's happened in Santa Monica with the budget, the payouts, and liability claims and things like that. And so this was an opportunity to kind of put it all in one place, and so that we go around talking to other regulators, other granting agencies. There's an opportunity to sort of put together the story. From that perspective. I will say I'm not in finance, so I haven't seen like the revenues, but our finance department actually has put a lot of public information around the state of the city's budget. It's not great, but Santa Monica is not, we're not broke in the sense that, we have a lot of great assets here. This is still an amazing place to live. Companies still want to locate here. You all still want to live here, right? I mean, it's still a wonderful community. So there's a lot going for it. And, I think going forward, we're trying to build on that sense of optimism, the possibilities of what can be. We're certainly hearing from our businesses, including the hotels, they are struggling right now. The national climate is not helping things in terms of attracting tourists to the United States, to this area. Our hotels are definitely feeling the effects of that. And that's going to be, somewhat of the reality. But we are trying to find ways to, support our community, our businesses. That's going to be a big part of the city manager's team on October 28th. Is, how do we bring our organization into realignment, kind of, prioritizing all the resources so that we're kind of doing the things that gets the city back to itself.
You don't know how the hotels are doing financially.
Yeah, I don't have, I've just had it anecdotally, they're not doing as well as they could be.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jane, for their work.
I'm not the lead on that, so I don't know. But happy to find out for you. I know it's a live debate, with the business community right now. That's about all I can share, so.
Thanks so much for coming.
All right, so we'll move into our next speaker. And then just to comment, let's try to keep it to one conversation that's going on up at the front of the room, just to make sure that everybody can hear. But I'll introduce Zenon, who is with the Abundance Network, and I'll let you say a lot more, but thanks for coming.
Yeah, totally. Hey, y'all, so nice to be here. My name is Zenonelli Crow. I am the Santa Monica Director for Abundance Network. And what is abundance? Great question. So essentially what abundance is it's about good governance and making sure everybody has access and the amount of things they need to have a fulfilling life. So thinking about childcare, right? A lot of families are dealing with issues of there not being enough preschools, not enough slots. It's too expensive for them to be able to send their kids to early childhood education. So abundance says, okay, what can we do to make sure that there are more preschools? What can we do to make sure that it's easier to access those preschools? What can we do to make sure it's easy for that? That same concept can be applied to a lot of different aspects and a lot of different issues. Healthcare, right? There's a lot of issues where it's not many doctors. So doctors are really expensive because it's really hard to become a doctor. And so what if we paired our standards with the international standards when it comes to licensing and things like that, to make it so it's safe for the doctors to become doctors, but also we have more doctors available, so it's less expensive to see doctor per doctor. So that's kind of the idea of abundance. It's a mix of increasing the amount of supply of things for people's lives and making so that government as a whole is able to deliver more effectively for people, rather than focusing as much on process, which is really important a lot of the time to make sure we're safeguarding things, but trying to say, okay, what are these things that we all agree are issues that we want to make a difference on, that we want to see outcomes, right? That we want to see this thing is actually changing, not just talking in circles about this thing for years and years and years. So that's what abundance is. So the organization, so I'm going to basically run the Abundance Network Santa Monica chapter. We've been around since 2023, 2024. I actually just started this role 2 days and 2 months ago. So I'm pretty fresh to the spirit here, but I grew up on the West Side, Pali High alum, and I have done a lot of stuff here in Santa Monica, being one of those Third Street prominent terrorizer children for many years. And then I went up to Santa Cruz with Banana Slug, and in Santa Cruz, I did a lot of work on doing student housing advocacy, so making it easier to build student housing on campuses, doing work, passing some state bills related to tenant protections for students. And then also I was a transportation public works commissioner up in the city of Santa Cruz. And then recently I've moved back home, and I have worked for the Palisades Recovery Coalition on fire recovery, and doing a lot of stuff related to making sure people could rebuild their homes. And then also I'm the organizing director for the West Side Young Democrats. And now I'm really excited to be in this role here, working in Santa Monica, which is somewhere I desperately want to live as soon as it gets affordable enough. But I live nearby, back at my parents' house up in Japan. So that's about me, our organization. So the chapter is, John's here. John's part of the chapter. We were just at an event with Robbie last week. And so essentially, it's comprised of a lot of local Santa Monica folks that care about making their city effective, making their city work for people, doing this stuff. And I'm supported by Santa Monicans to make my role exist. And so essentially, as an organization, Abundance Network is a national organization that was founded in earnest in 2022. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Ezra Klein book, Abundance. But essentially our organization worked with him and he worked with us, and it's all very symbiotic for creating that to be. And they are an organization that started in the Bay Area, did a lot of work in San Francisco in terms of making the city clean and safe, and also making sure that the city has easier times when it comes to permitting for small businesses and making sure that there's more growth and vitalization, especially in the downtown. So I am the first hire outside of the Bay Area to doing local work. And so really excited to be kind of taking a lot of that ethos and making sure that, as an organization, we have what's called an Abundance Electeds Network. So we have 130 electeds across 37 states that we support in all sorts of different ways and being able to enact policy on the ground. And in addition, we run an Abundance Professionals Network. So it's a lot of different folks that care about this issue, want to support the cause, and are active in their communities in doing this stuff. It's a great collaborative environment for folks that are passionate about this. So that's all the stuff here. In terms of what we're focused on in Santa Monica, a lot of it has to do with downtown revitalization and saying, hey, we should make it easier to do cool things. Like one thing is very much thinking about the promenade, and like we're talking about vacancies and vacant parcels in the promenade, right? And one of the things we're thinking is, okay, what can we do for like pop-up spaces, or like, you know, having a DJ on the promenade and making these places active spaces where people want to be, where we can actually revitalize the community. And we're looking at the process side of that and saying, okay, maybe it shouldn't take 3 months of negotiation to get a DJ for a weekend, right? Maybe it should be really easy to get a DJ for the weekend and make this. Additionally, we're really focused on the housing shortage and the cost of housing in Santa Monica, and very much thinking about where are we going to allow people to live in the city of Santa Monica in transit-rich areas, and how can we make it easier for folks to live here and for us to make sure it's an affordable place for people to be. And in addition, really thinking about our municipal finances health. I mean, the more that we're able to make sure that folks can live here, the more that we can increase tax revenue, so we can actually support our services in the city and make sure that we don't have cuts to the services. So that's what we're doing here. That's who I am. That's the org. I'm gonna take a stop there and would love to take questions.
How would one get involved?
Wow, John, that's a great question. So, well, if one would like to get involved, I have business cards, so I would be happy to pass those out. And then B, so we have a group of Santa Monica folks. We have both a giving network and also a membership network of folks that are supporting us and being able to be effective and create change through recruiting folks that can work on these issues to support the city council members, support city staff, support the community organizations that are trying to make this stuff implemented. And so if you want to get involved, talk to me and I will get you involved. Yes.
It's great to hear from you. Welcome, love your energy. So here's the question. So there's a lot of abundance going on right now. There's just in LA alone, there's abundant housing, which is very much focused on housing. Then there's your group, and then there's the book that you just mentioned, Ezra Klein's book, which I think is a very important book. Whether you agree with it or not, I think it's an incredibly important book. And one of the things that it does is it really is targeted at Democrats. It is forcing Democrats to have a conversation within themselves about basically whether they are for or against abundance, whether they are holding back abundance or pushing forward. So is your group also, you said you're a member of the Young Democrats as well as you're with this group. Are you also engaged directly in that sort of intra-party conversation?
So Abundance Network as an organization is an explicitly nonpartisan organization, because I think one of the beautiful things about this issue is that you can approach it from so many different perspectives and find the exact same outcomes. Right, you know, people that are small business owners that worry about overregulation of their businesses and that find it hard to start a new thing. The permitting also aligns with the good. We want our city to function, and we don't want vacant storefronts, and we want to make sure it's easier for small businesses to start. So you can come at the exact same thing from so many different perspectives and come to the same outcome. So that's why it's what I think one of the big strengths of Abundance is. But obviously, that's my other affiliation, so I can't really speak on behalf of my employer, I guess, in that sense. But we definitely do a lot of work with Democratic candidates, and especially living in Santa Monica, living in Los Angeles, living in California, that is where the main discussion is, and very much thinking like, okay, you know, as a city, as a state, like as a party, you know, what are we doing to make sure that we are delivering? So that's how we kind of fit in this ecosystem. And to touch a little bit on, in terms of all these different organizations, but in Housing Los Angeles, which happens to share a very similar name to us, but it's different in that their scope is housing. Our scope is much broader in making sure we're talking about all these different aspects of healthcare issues, downtown revitalization, transportation, things like that. And in addition, as an organization, we definitely take a much broader scope of bringing together a lot of different coalitional partners that wouldn't necessarily know to talk to one another unless it was all aligned around that abundance lens, right? Where like those childcare people who also care about having better schools, and as the housing. So that's kind of where we fit in this niche. Sorry.
It's not getting it quite. You're talking about you're an organization, or are you employed by the city of Santa Monica?
Organization. So an organization. So I'm not employed by the state.
As an organization.
Yeah.
You have to go through the same process as advocating before the planning department of the city council, like anybody else, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, that's interesting. That's all an organization.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and I think as an organization, what we're able to do is we're able to bring together a lot of
What's
folks.
the name of your organization?
Abundance Network Santa Monica.
Who's involved in your organization?
So it's myself, we have a communications intern who is, we have a communications intern, maybe Maddie is a local Crossroads student. We have an executive committee of the former Mayor Glenn Davis, Jesse Zwick, who's a city council member, and another, Eli, who is a member of the community who's been really active in doing activism stuff. We also have a founding members group of folks that are Santa Monica residents that are invested in making this organization happen. And so our job is really to be kind of like a conduit and a connector organization with all of these different advocacy groups to basically say, okay, we're all talking about this as an issue and we all agree on the solution, but why is this thing not happening? And so we use our connections within city government with our connections with the organizations to act as a communicator and a conductor between all these different folks to make things happen.
It sounds wonderful. And you guys, your participants, your people should be joining us.
Oh yeah,
that's what we do too.
John is a part of our organization, and we make sure that like where we are in the community is like we are represented and we are spread around to make sure that like we are activating these issues and making them happen.
So you have a lot of issues. Sounds like you have a lot of issues to revitalize Santa Monica.
Yes, it is a lot, but definitely we target things as we see the priorities of things, like very much like what things we can do right now will have the greatest impact down the line and changing the culture on these things. And again, our lens is very much not okay, we're going to solve this one thing and then leave it at B. It's going to be, okay, we solve this thing, but actually when we're solving this thing, how can we set up the structures for success so that this thing is more permanently solved, right? It's not like we're going to have to come back in a few years and re-trigger this thing and things like that. So focusing on the systems and structures, making those more effective at delivering things is a huge part of it.
So this is a voluntary organization where people can join?
Yes.
Is there any money involved?
So I'm paid part-time and my salary comes from Santa Monicans who support me to exist. So we do receive donations, we do receive support in that way, but it's all Santa Monica.
Did anyone else have any questions for them?
Do you have business cards for all of us, or
Yes, I do.
could you put them out somewhere?
They're in my backpack, which I will
Okay.
time out.
I wasn't trying to.
No, you're good.
If that, anybody else has any questions, we really appreciate you coming out and,
Guys, I think that's all the scheduled speaking business. So we'll move into the board business. I do see that Hunter's here. Hunter, anything that you would like to, before some folks get out of here, anything you'd like to say about the event Sunday?
Yeah, there's gonna be dogs everywhere. Prepare yourselves. And Julia, now that your dog, I'm very happy to be. Yeah, Day of the Dog got moved. It's on Sunday now. I think you all heard that earlier. This is probably gonna be the biggest one that we've ever done. It's the third year we've done it. The whole street is packed with activities and activations, wave machines, snow machines, all that stuff. So it's gonna be quite busy, and there will be a lot of dogs. So if you don't like dogs, go somewhere else. And I think it's going, the streets shut down basically all day, like effectively 5 a.m. until probably 9 p.m.-ish. So don't plan on using Main Street. What else? Same generally as last year. Most of the dog stuff is North Ocean Park and South Ocean Park is mostly live music and other things. John, what about this?
Nothing, but I have different questions.
Yeah.
So tomorrow night's council meeting, there is an agenda item 11A. Permanent, some of the things that you've been doing for years. I want to support you. Can you give us some ideas of, what they're talking about, if you know?
Yeah, sure. I was going to avoid that topic, but no, yeah, basically what's been happening for years is, we don't have the money to pay for these events. We just don't. We don't make that much money. We're a very, very small bid. We're not BTSM. We just don't have our resources. So the fact that we can pull off these events with our resources, and have done so for years is nothing short of miraculous. We only do it with everyone's help, like people like John, and Sean and everybody who's been involved over the years. Yes, you too. Don't worry, I'm not forgetting about you. Everyone's kind of lifted these events up over the years. And it's been awesome. But at the end of the day, it's really, really frustrating for us to go to council every year and beg for money. We're not really sure how it's going to go. We're not really sure. You can't make a plan without that money, right? And you can't plan an event like this 3 weeks before the event, or a week before the event, or 5 days before the event in this case. And so it's really, it's hard for us to do that. And I'm exhausted, Johnny's exhausted. And so what this is basically making the money that we've always gotten historically, it's just making it a part of the budget. So it saves city staff a lot of time, or saves the city money, actually, because staff time is expensive, and it saves city council time. We don't have to talk about it anymore. It saves us time, so we can focus on doing more events and cool stuff. It's just kind of like a net win for us. And that's all it is. It's just kind of codifying that in the city budget, and it makes a ton of sense. And there's very few compelling reasons that anybody would have a problem with that, so we expect it to kind of sail right through. But we know that not everybody loves street closure events, so I've heard wildly misguided ideas about what it actually is, what it isn't. So I just told you what my perspective of it is. John can add more to that if you would like. Any questions?
Yes, two things. First of all, where will the OPA booth be?
Same spot? Well, John, would you like to talk about what OPA is doing?
I actually am out of the loop. Sorry.
It's
okay, but I know what Open does, right? It's, we have a booth, we throw members and that sort of stuff. I think the question Tony has some clear.
I believe so. What area? So we're doing a little bit of a different thing this year. We're giving, kind of partnering with Peter Trent and OPA to do a little bit of a different thing in the Ashland Hill parking lot, where we usually kind of center stuff. I believe that the OPA booth will either be in that parking lot or like right outside the parking lot. That would be what makes the most sense. I'm not 1,000% on that. That is kind of like probably a Sean and Peter question. I know Sean's traveling. I think he's traveling at least. That's what that would be, I guess. It's gonna be.
And then one other thing, a woman who was here had been walked in, I guess from the library. I have 2 bags over there that I think are for the OPA dog, or David dog event booth.
Okay.
So we can take one if someone else wants to take one of the bags home there. That
Were you gonna do the setup on?
No, I know.
She wanted somebody in OPA to take those bags with them and take them on Sunday to the booth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, thank you. So that's it. It's gonna be a great event. It's gonna be awesome. It's, it's the 3rd year. It's rad. We get more press on this than anything else that we do. I'm a big dog person, obviously, so I'll be down there.
So one thing I want to ask the board is what I would like to do when I go home tonight is I'd like to write a letter on behalf of OPA, telling them that 11A, the item that basically keeps us from begging for money every year, is a good idea and that we that.
So moved.
As long as no one objects, I mean, I'm glad to do that, right? Because it's.
I hear nobody on the council is against it. That's what I hear.
Probably true. I don't think anyone's against it, but I think the other thing that I want to ask is, I also want to have them extend those services, and I've talked to Oliver about this, to waive all the internal fees that we have to pay when we close a street. Now, we actually, so I see this as a fundraising thing, right, in conjunction with that. We actually had talked to Hunter and Jenny about having those 2 extra blocks on the north side from Strand to, Pacific or Bay, whatever it was. So we could do something on our own, we could raise money, right? Because, in this case, Peter's actually helping us out with some money. And the city came back and said, we want $6,000 to do a traffic study. So one of the things that I wanted to waive is the internal fee. So it's those types of studies. And then we'd like them to waive the fees, especially for OPA and for Hunter, that are associated with putting up the blockades, right? All, the extra time for police and that sort of stuff. So if you're okay with that, I'd like to add that as the second part and say, please waive the fees for OPA.
That's part of my motion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just comment. That would be great. That'd be super helpful. I'll comment. That sounds like a great idea because I've been part of like understanding the lack of the funding to be able to pull these things off at the scale that we originally talked about. Is there any dollar value that is like being decided on, or is it they're just deciding like, hey, we're going to examine this?
My understanding is that there's not like a specific dollar amount. It's that all of the fees that basically what happens now is just circuitous. So in the past, what happens is city departments, police, fire, whatever, they charge us fees. But then we get credits, which is like this bizarre system. We have to ask for those credits. We get funding from council, we get like say 10 grand or 15 grand credits to apply to those bills. It's just like, it's a big waste of time essentially. And so this is just like wiping that out. So that whole process just like doesn't happen. This is different than us asking for discretionary funding of like say $10,000 or $15,000 to do an event. I can tell you that for us, if you want dollar amounts in your to think about, I can tell you that each one of these events costs us like 50 G's. And that's a lot, right? It's a lot of money. And so we kind of like go under the hole a little bit every time we do this. And it's always sort of a nail biter for Jenny and myself and for everyone else involved. Like, oh God, how much are we going to go under the hole for this one? But we know they're worth it. So, that's why we continue to do it. And this would just kind of be a huge stress reliever. Maybe I can grow some of my thinning hair back. And Jenny could spend more time doing other cool stuff. And I wouldn't have to, bug people about this.
And you go into the hole and then you make some of that back, or?
I mean, what do you mean?
Or do you end up losing 50K per event?
No, God, no, I sure wouldn't have a job.
Right, okay, that's not.
No, we're not losing 50K. I'm saying that's what it costs to do the event. We have to make that back in sponsorships and some space and all that. So like it all kind of comes out in the wash. But we're certainly not making a lot of money. We're lucky if we break even a little bit. So we would like to move away from that. And if the city wants to help us.
I saw Jeff before, I don't see him now. Does this have the potential to affect the parade?
It does, the parade, so the events that
That's
are.
on there, on the list.
Yeah, it counts in this.
Yeah, so there's 14 events that are kind of like in this first package. And it's like the Main Street events, the Montana events. I think potentially here, or Pier 360 or whatever, 4th of July parade, the Festival of Chariots, I think. The events that are already happening, kind of like. Cool. That's my spiel. Lovely to see you all. Been a while.
Yeah, Sunday will be fun.
Any other questions? No, good.
So do we need to vote? I don't exactly know how to do
Yeah.
this. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Yay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
Okay.
It passed.
so it sounds like,
We'll see you on Sunday.
No, Matt.
Puppy, I gotta say hi to the puppy. Hello, puppy. I have nothing to do. Hi, don't bite me.
This is Ginger.
Hi, Ginger.
So we'll move on to the board business. Zen, you're more than welcome to hang through this, or.
I would actually just put it in, anybody want the business cards.
And maybe I'll.
I should be part of your group.
No. Yeah. Let's get into some of this board business. I don't,
The aerial space is finally gonna open as a restaurant.
heck yeah.
Really? Yeah, it's kind of a brother-sister duo that have a good kind of Mediterranean restaurant, the Valley. I don't know if that's what we're gonna do here, but they.
So they, did the.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I was talking to the project, but I don't know.
Okay. So we'll get into the board business, kicking off with communications. The OPA newsletter has now been in this new format, and Sean asked if we want to provide any feedback. Just wanted to make sure that we could hear it and talk about it.
I like it.
Okay. Like
Yeah, I
that.
think it was good.
Okay. That's great. I especially want to say thanks, if she's still on, to Hannah. Hannah was doing a little bit of work to review the newsletter, like the website, which I did a pretty shoddy job of trying to put together. But anyway, I think we're going to get that out to you guys so that we can do a similar exercise, get feedback on it. Chris, you're also on that email chain. And so whatever thoughts you guys have, we can try to figure out how to incorporate them. So I think that's communication standpoint. Is there anything else from an executive standpoint we haven't had? Oh, yeah, the elections are going to be that second weekend or third weekend in December for I think the plan's still tied to the holiday celebration.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, we might have to get on that next month, right? I know there are several people. Does everyone know if they are or are not running next year? Okay, that's fantastic. So just keep that in mind. That decision has to be made pretty soon. I'm sure Patty will be in touch when she's back.
Not everybody's up.
Right.
I think I was up last year, well, next year.
Right, yeah, it's every other year.
I'm not up.
Yeah, I think I have to like redo it. Okay, so that's that.
That's before the next meeting. People have to submit their
Oh, that's right.
nominations.
Yeah, so I guess Patty will have to reach out via email to confirm whether you are or aren't gonna run.
She on my house.
Or is it?
Oh, I'm trying to find that.
Yeah.
Have been mentioned to me, but I'm not sure now.
She's trying to keep around.
I'll have to send her a note. Okay, so that's all, yeah, elections are coming up. And then should we go on to any other committees that want to give updates?
I
Tony?
just want to let you guys know that we're doing a Halloween OPA mixer at Ashland Hill on October 29th. That's a Wednesday. Or at 6 to 8:30, I believe, around the same time as the holiday, as the previous party we had, summer mixer. And more details will follow, hopefully, in the newsletter. So, and I may have questions along the way as I negotiate with Ashland Hill, but I'm on it. And
What was that, 21?
October 29th, it'll be in the newsletter, but it's a Wednesday.
What
So please
time?
tell
6 to 8:30.
6 to 8:30 like last time. So please tell folk and we'll get closer.
It's the same night as the Democratic Club.
Okay.
I found an email from Bobby Chick. Dave Busey and Dave.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so if you're one of those names, we gotta get back to Patty. And then I guess the last thing we should say with the elections, if you're interested in joining the board, next year, we're always looking for new members. So I'm just throwing that out there.
So one of the things I've been working on is money, because we don't have enough money. So this whole idea behind closing Main Street, get it to be an easy designation and getting the fees waived, so we can make money. Right? We can make a ton of money. So that's, I think, part of what's going on with Main Street and trying to, write these letters, right? So we will be funding independent of the city. They'll give us to do other things, right? Whatever we want, power wash the sidewalks, promote day cans, beat cleanups, it doesn't matter. That's really what I'm at. It's a fundraising mechanism for us. Go to the next level.
That's great. I like it. Any other committees that wanna? I don't have my phone. I don't have the list of the committees. Okay, thanks.
Main Street, communications, executive, housing.
Day of the dog, everyone's gotta sign up for.
Oh, yeah, there are.
I wasn't able to do it yesterday, but I'll do the setup and breakdown like I have.
Awesome.
But that one race, so I'm gonna go.
That's okay.
That's awesome, Main Street.
It's awesome race.
What's why it's in the middle of the day?
I used to here for emergency preparedness. You have your housing.
Yeah, we had a good housing meeting. That was at the end of September, right? That was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, there was probably, I'd say there's probably 15 people that came in and out, and yeah, we had a good conversation about what's been happening, and I don't know, maybe the beginning of the year, maybe there'll be another one or something.
It should. People care about housing. We saw that tonight.
Yeah.
There's whole movements behind that. It's a big deal.
Anything on Lincoln Boulevard? The farmer's market, I'll just say, like they did the pumpkin thing the other day. I think that went pretty well. They're really excited to have Day of the Dog on Sunday.
Oh, I can bet.
Not for the dogs because they're not supposed to be in the farmer's market, but the people, they've struggled. We've always done our events on Main Street on Saturdays, and they've always, wanted to find a way to get tied into our events. Even when we did the open Main Street, we ended before the market, so they're excited, maybe a little nervous about the dogs, but all that hopefully able all that they've got so really, Carla's done a really good job, other than the generator outside. Carla's done a good job.
That's awesome.
If you were around, maybe. They used to have the bike valet, I guess they tried dog valet for Sunday.
That might be great, but I like it. Okay, I might, is that all the, what's that? Yeah, let's do that. Did anybody take a look at Kelly's minutes and like them? I think we had a couple people on the email chain, so I will move that. Do I need a second that they're approved? Okay.
All in favor?
Yeah. You did?
It was unanimous.
I actually listened.
Oh, that's one abstention.
Record that.
So on Sunday, the parking lot that's right over Ashland on the Fourth Avenue side of Main Street, is that?
That's like where they do the beer garden usually.
Well, that's where we have Peter Trent coming in. That's where we're gonna get some money. We thought we were gonna get $3,000, but
But no, but I'm saying, he said, the open tent might be in that area.
Yes,
Is that true?
it's gonna be out on.
On Main Street by Ashland, between Ashland and
So we're usually.
Ocean Park. It,
Sometimes we're like down on a little bit.
She's a little different. Then when Tony shows up, right, you show up, just go, Jenny, we're gonna put it here. Usually just says, okay.
I don't know, last time, what's her name took our spot, council,
Lindsay
county,
Barber.
county.
Zach took our spot.
Zach, it was Zach.
Zach took our
Zach
spot.
Specifically took our spot. No, they mark them out, but they just.
Doesn't
set up-
matter.
They set up in the. Actually, ours is better, because then we got.
Just double check your schedules. I'll probably send out a note to all the board members trying to fill up the slots. But yeah, hopefully see everybody Sunday and it'll be a fun day.
Need a motion?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's, can we get a motion
I'll
to,
make a motion to end the meeting.
yes. All right, Lucy, seconds. All in favor? All right.
Nice to get us out of that.
We have to put, we stack all the chairs back up.